Hello guys, welcome to AfristylzYarns. My name is Neema and today we'll be making this beautiful floral placemat. It's a 45 centimeters, that is 16 inches diameter placemat. I'll be using a chunky thread in white and in pink with a size 5mm hook. It's a very simple pattern guys, just a series of double crochets, single crochets and slip stitches. Let's get straight into the pattern. This pattern we're going to start off with a magic ring. So I'll just wrap my thread around my two fingers, go in with my hook, pull up a thread and pull up a loop. Then I'm going to chain 2, which is going to act as my first double crochet for this row, which is row 1. Then inside the magic ring I'm going to work 20 double crochets. So this will be the first one, then I'm going to work 19 more double crochet inside the space. So I'll yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the circle, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the circle, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that is 4 double crochets. So I'll make 16 more double crochet to make a total of 20. So I've made my 20 double crochets inside my magic ring. Then I'm going to slip stitch in this at the top of this first double crochet, the chain 2. So from the bottom, when you try to pull it aside, so from the bottom I'll just count the first V, the second V, the third, which is basically at the top. I'm going to go in, pull up a loop and make a slip stitch just to close the circle off. Then I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the chain 4, 3 will act as our first double crochet and the fourth chain will be a space. So that will count as our first double crochet. Then in the next space I'm going to yarn over and make a double crochet, then chain 1. Then in the next space I'll make a double crochet, then chain 1. Then the next space a double crochet, chain 1, and it's a repeat like that all through. So it's a double crochet and a chain 1, and then in the next space double crochet, chain 1. I have my 19 double crochets. So after my 19th double crochet I'll chain 1 more, and then in that final space I'm going to work a double crochet in that space. Then I'll chain the last one. Then in our first double crochet, which was a chain 3, I'm just going to count the third space from the bottom. So this is the first, the second, the third. Then in that third space I'm just going to go into that third space and slip stitch like that. So you have your row 2, 20 double crochets with a chain space in between. Starting off row 3, I'll slip stitch so I can come into this chain space, because that's where I want to start my counts, just like that. Then I'll chain 3. The chain 3 will act as a double crochet. Then in that first space at the top of the double crochet I'm going to work another double crochet. Then in the chain space of the next I'm going to work 1 double crochet in that space. Then at the top of the double crochet I'm going to work another double crochet, and in the next space I'm going to work a double crochet, and in the top, at the top of the double crochet I'm going to work a double crochet. So basically we'll be filling up the chain space that we did in the previous row, and at the top of the double crochet we're going to be working also a double crochet. So basically it will be 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 as we go around. So 1 in the space, 1 at the top of the double crochet, 1 at the space and 1 at the top of the double crochet. I've worked my last double crochet for that row and I'm going to slip stitch just to close off. So in this first double crochet, which was a chain 3 space, at the top of it on the third chain, 1, 2, 3, right here I'm going to go into that space and work a slip stitch to close off the circle. So starting off row 4, I'll work a single crochet at the top of this next double crochet right here. In that space I'll work a single crochet, and then I'll skip the next space, and in the next space I'll work a double crochet, chain 1, work another double crochet, chain 1, the third double crochet, chain 1, the fourth double crochet, chain 1, then the fifth double crochet in the same space. After the fifth double crochet I'll skip the next space, and in the next I'm going to work a single crochet, and then I'll skip the next space, and onto the next I'll work a double crochet, chain 1, in the same space work another double crochet, chain 1, in the same space work the third double crochet, chain 1, work your fourth double crochet in the same space, chain 1, and your fifth double crochet in the same space. After your fifth double crochet you're going to skip the next space and work a single crochet in the next space. So for round 4 it will be a repeat of the same. So what you have is this little flower pattern at the top. So I've worked my last single crochet over there, so I'll skip a chain space, and on to the next I'll work my 5 double crochets. So your first double crochet, chain 1, second double crochet, chain 1, third, chain 1, fourth double crochet, chain 1, your fifth double crochet, and then there is that space over there, so it's a space, and also it started us off with the single crochet. So right at that space we're going to slip stitch, and that's how our circle will end. So for the 5th row, at the top where we begin our double crochets, I'm just going to turn our work. Right at the top we want to get to the third double crochet, which is the midpoint of the flower. So I'll just slip stitch, working on the back loop only. So the first, because I do not want to cut out my thread, I'll slip stitch till I get to that point. So I've slip stitched 3 times, 1 2 3 slip stitches, and then now I'm in the space before the third double crochet of the midpoint. So from here what I'll do, I'll go into at the top of that double crochet and work a single crochet just like that. Then what I want to do is chain 8, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and then at the top of the next flower, at the third double crochet at the top, I'll work a single crochet, then chain 8, then at the top of the next flower, at the third double crochet, right at that top, I'm going to work a single crochet, chain 8, Then at the top of the next flower, the peak, right at the top, which is the third double crochet, work a single crochet. And this row will be a repeat of the same, chaining 8, and at the top of the flower, work your single crochet. So I'm in my last petal. So what I'll do for this last chains, I like chaining 7 instead of 8. And then at the where you have our single crochets, not in the at the we're going to work a slip stitch. And why that is because I have this extra slip stitch that if I work 8 chains, it will be a bit loose than the rest. So I usually let that slip stitch mitigate as the last chain space. So when you look at it, it is equal in terms of tension and size with the rest, just like that. And it's not like too loose. Then I'll slip stitch into the next row, and what I want to do is chain 3. That chain 3 will act as my first double crochet for that row. Then I'm going to work 7 more double crochets in this space to make a total of 8 double crochets. So that's your first double crochet, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7 and 8. Then I'm going to just skip over to the next space and work 8 more double crochets. 1, 2, 8, skip, and into the next chain space, work 8 more. So for this row, it's just filling up the chain 8 spaces with 8 double crochets. So after my final 8th stitch in the last chain space, I'm going to slip stitch at the top of the third chain. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to slip stitch to close off our circle. Then I'll work now a series of double crochets. So I don't like working on that space, so I'll slip stitch into the top of the next double crochet. I'll chain 2, and that will act as my first double crochet for that row. And for this row, we're going, since it's just a series of double crochets across, we are going to be increasing. So what I'll do is in the same space, I'll work another double crochet. So that's my first increase for that row. Then in the next space, I'll work 1 double crochet in each of the next 8 spaces. Then for our increase, I'll work my 9th double crochet in the same space as my 8th. Then I'll repeat the same 8 double crochets in each of the 8 spaces. I've done my 8th double crochet, and in the same space I'll work my 9th double crochet in the same space. Then I'll begin another count of 8, and it's the same across. So 8 double crochets, and then the 9th will go into the same space as the 8th. It's a repeat of the same. Do your increases, and I'll meet you at the end. I've worked my 9th double crochet in the same space as my 8th. Then I'll start my last set. So 1, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, 4 double crochets, 5, 6, and in that final space we're going to have our 7th. It will seem incomplete, but our first 2 double crochets that will complete that count. So this being our 7th double crochet, our first will act as a 8 and the next one will act as a 9 to complete that set of increases. So how I'll complete off this row is I'll pull out my thread in the middle, these first 2 double crochets right at the top. I'll go into that space, put my hook into my loop into my hook, pull it to the back, give it a pull just like that. Coming from the front, pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops, then put both loops back into your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 1. That acts as my first double crochet for that row. Then what I'll do is in the same space I'm going to work another double crochet because we are still increasing, so we'll be increasing as we go. So for this row what I'll do is I'll work 9 double crochets. So my 9th double crochet, and then I'll increase my 10th double crochet in the same space. Then start another set of 9. After my 9th double crochet, I'll work the 10th double crochet in the same space as the 9th, and it's a repeat all the way around. So if your counts are correct, you're going to end with 8 double crochets, and then your 9th and your 10th will be right at the beginning to end that cluster of increases. So at the end of this row you're going to have a total of 100 double crochets, and then how we're going to close off that row is in the first 2 double crochets right at the top at the midpoint of the 2. I'm going to go into that space going in from the back, then take my loop, put it into my hook, pull it towards the back, give it a pull, then remove my hook, coming in from the front again, pull up a loop. Now we have 2 loops, one at the back, one at the front. Then I'll put my hook from the back, put both loops back, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, 1. So this acts as my first double crochet for this row. Then for this row what we're going to do is I'll work 2 more double crochets in the next 2 spaces. So that's a total of 3 double crochets, then chain 3, skip a space, then work another set of 3 double crochets in the next 3 spaces. Chain 3, skip a space, then in the next space work a double crochet and 2 more double crochets to make a total of 3 double crochets and chain 3. So this row will be a repeat of the same 3 double crochet, chain 3 space, 3 double crochet, chain 3 space, 3 double crochets, chain 3 space, 3 double crochets, and where we have the chain 3 space we've skipped a space down below. So it's a repeat of the same all the way around. I've worked my last set of 3 double crochets, so I'll chain 3 and I'll slip stitch at the midpoint of the first 2 double crochets right at the top. I'll go into that space, yarn over and make a slip stitch to close off. Then I yarn over, end my row like that. So that's how we're looking so far. So I'll change my thread over to the white so we can do our pattern. Moving over to our white thread, start off the next row with a slip knot. So holding the tail end of the thread, wrap it around your finger, go into that circle, pull up your thread and pull. So I have my slip knot. Then starting off in the chain space, in the chain 3 space. We'll be working in the chain 3 spaces. So I'll start off with a standing double crochet. So I'll just yarn over, go into the space, pull through 2 and pull through 2, and you have your first double crochet. Then work 2 more double crochets. Then I'll chain 8. And then I'll go into the same space and work 3 more double crochets. Then I'll move over to the next space and work 3 double crochets. Then I'll chain 8. Then work 3 more double crochets in the same space. Move over to the next space, work 3 double crochets. Chain 8. And work 3 more double crochets in the same space. And for this row, it's a repeat of the same all round. So 3 double crochets, chain 8, 3 double crochets, move to the next space, 3 double crochets, chain 8, and 3 double crochets in the same space. Then move to the next space, 3 double crochets, chain 8, and 3 double crochets in the same space. So continue the same all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end. I'm in my last space and I'll work my 3 double crochets, work my chain 8, and my final 3 double crochets. Then in that first double crochet right at the top, I'll work a slip stitch to close off our row, and that's what we have at the end of the row. Then how I start off the next row, since we want to just be working in the chain 8 space, I'll slip stitch the next space, slip stitch in the next, and my third slip stitch I'll be inside the chain 8 space. Then I'll chain 3. The chain 3 will act as my first double crochet. Then what I want to do is work 12 more double crochets in this space to make a total of 13 double crochets. So this will act as my first double crochet, and I'll work 12 more double crochets in this same space. After my 12th double crochet, inside where the 2 sets of 3 double crochets meet, right in this space, I'll go into this space and work a single crochet. Then I'll yarn over and work a double crochet in the next chain 8 space. That's my first double crochet in this chain 8 space, and I'll work 12 more double crochets to make a total of 13 double crochets in the chain space. After my 13th double crochet, in the next space right here, I'll work a single crochet and then start my next set of 13 double crochets in the next. So yarn over, you have your first double crochet, your second, third, after my 13th double crochet, in the space in between I'll work my single crochets, and for this row it's a repeat of the same, so just 13 double crochets in the chain space, then single crochet in the midpoint, then 13 double crochets in the next. So continue and I'll meet you at the end to finish off our pattern. I've finished my 13th double crochet for my last chain space, so I'll go into this space right here and work my final single crochet. In this chain space that is a double crochet, I'll go into the third space from the bottom and I'll work a slip stitch. So I'll go into that space, yeah, pull a thread and pull through 2, and I'm done with the pattern. So I'll just pull my thread and I'll tuck my loose ends. So with my slip knot, I just like to add this little detail. So I like going into where I have my chain 3 space, the row below it, this set of double crochet right inside here. I like going inside that space, put your knot in my hook and pull it to the right side. What I'll be working is slip stitches through those top of the double crochets. So I'll just go into the next space, pull up my thread and pull through that slip knot. That's a slip stitch. Go into the next space, pull up a thread and slip stitch through the next, just like that. Go into the next space, put a loop and slip stitch. Go into the next space, pull up a loop and slip stitch. So I'll continue the same all around. So what I'm doing is going inside, going below and looping my hook, then pulling that loop to the front and the slip stitching, pull through that hook, go in again, hook and pull it. So what you have is this little detail. So I'll just continue the same all the way around and I'll show you how we finish off at the end. I've worked my last slip stitch. What I'm going to do is cut off my thread, then I'll pull this to the front. I'll take my darning needle, go into that first space and pull up this loop, pull it like that, then to the bottom where the thread comes from, right there, and I'll take it back to the back. Just like that. So you, from the top, you can't tell where we started from. And then with our loose threads, I'll just tuck this in the back and we'll be done. So once you've tucked in all your edges, what you have is this beautiful placemat. It's really nice and floral with your nice floral detail, your white border and your little petals. It is a 46-inch diameter placemat, that is 14.5 centimeters. That's how the pattern will turn out. So if you've made it to the end of the video and you liked the pattern, kindly do give us a thumbs up. Also leave a comment in the comment section below on what you found most resourceful about this video. Also consider subscribing, it's totally free and it helps in growing our channel. Till next time, bye.